Hey guys, so I wanted to talk to you about the squat. It's such a simple foundational move, but it's often done incorrectly. And because it's a knee-dominated movement, meaning that the majority of movement comes from the knee joint, there is a lot of chance when done incorrectly that knee injuries occur, particularly when you go into more advanced weightlifting or utilizing weights or different types of varieties of squats if you don't have the foundational movements down pat. When you have built foundations of movements correctly from the beginning, then the advanced movements end up sound. A lot of people say if you do a pistol squat, then you're going to get injured. Well, not if you have the correct technique and correct foundations in place and awareness in your body. So that's why foundations become so important in every movement that we do. There's a lot of issues that can occur from unawareness. You may have had injury placement, or just simply that you have different flexibilities and movement patterns in your body. But with awareness and education, everything can become sound for lifestyle long term rather than moments in time. But we always have to start with the foundation. So let's get to the squat. Okay, let's talk about the things of concern, like vulgaris collapse, where, for example, is the knee comes in. Okay, this could happen because your legs are too wide, muscles are not strong enough, you could have had an injury, and this can cause wonderful direction to Injuriesville. And if we don't work on this, this is one of the things that can cause a lot of problems. Another technique is similar, that people often squat like this. Okay, they don't have any activations in the inner thighs, the core is not activated, they're just kind of going through the motion. Another one is when they don't have enough dorsiflexion. What's that specific term? That's one of those junky terms for personal trainers. No. That is a term that's good to know when you are looking on YouTube and someone refers to dorsiflexion. Dorsiflexion actually affects you when you come to do a pistol squat, because if you don't have dorsiflexion, you end up here. Okay? So dorsiflexion allows us to have the increased flexibility enough to go down in a squat like this instead of like this, which also places pressure on the knee. You can place a little slide underneath your feet until you develop that flexibility, but it's very important to understand the squat needs to come from a heel-based movement when we're doing the foundational work. Okay? Now, dorsiflexion is the flexion here when you're lifting up your foot. Plantar flexion, however, the opposite is when you're planting your foot, pedal to the metal, and you're driving fast in your Ferrari or your car. But we're talking about dorsiflexion. So this is enough dorsiflexion here. This is not enough dorsiflexion, which causes the raised heels. All of these things encompassing can lead particularly to issues of the knee and other areas. So it's really important to understand. Then you have the issues of the spine. So you have two issues. You have the flexion of the spine when you come down, rounding a bit like a gorilla. Or you have what dancers and yogis often commonly have, which ends up with pressure on the back, the teacup bum, the hyperextension. And this is also damaging and very pressuresome. And that needs to be corrected by the hip flare coming back in. So connecting your hips back into your center, belly button to spine, ribs to hips. Okay, so you come down without that hyperextension or teacup bum where your friend can sit their teacup. So now you need to become aware of where you sit on the spectrum of squats and what things you have so you can build a better foundational squat. Also, another thing to be aware of is there's 4 muscles in the quads. And also the hamstrings and glutes activate together. However, sometimes what happens is we could have weak in one of these 2 areas, which leads to a less functional glute or hamstring if we're lazy, and flexibility issues. So we also need to understand these movements here too, which is another video altogether, but just to be aware, the squat encompasses all. It doesn't turn one thing off. Also, when we have 4 muscles in our legs, if we have one of these muscles that may not be as strong as the other 3, what could happen is you could pull your knee in or you could pull your knee out, and then you have a tracking issue, and that tracking issue can also cause a knee issue, okay? So again, it's a knee dominated movement, meaning most of the movement is coming from the movement of the knee. This is a hip dominated movement, and this is most of the movement coming from the hips. The knee dominated movements often develop the legs. That's why when you have a 30-day squat program, you don't actually get glute activation so much or growth, you get more of a leg-based growth. But when you have hip dominated movement, it works in on your glutes, and that's when you get the booty activation and awareness and growth without the extreme thigh growth. So, things to note when you are coming into your squat next time. Make sure that you find your stance, okay? I'm going to do a little widen hip width. My feet are a tiny little bit turned out. From there, I'm going to sit my bottom back, weight is on the heels, toes can come up. I'm going to make sure I don't have my rib flare. I'm going to make sure I don't have my flexion, so hyperextension, flexion. I'm going to make sure I don't have my collapsing of the knees for no knee injuries. I'm going to make sure my core is on and shoulders are down and chest is up. And then I make sure my knees don't track in and out. And from there, hands can come on hips or out front, wherever you like, and you start practicing your squat movement. Up and down. From this movement, once you have that, then you can start to add weight and more difficult movements without the concern for injury. Also to note, when you are doing your squat movement, hands can make a difference for you, so make sure your hands, you choose them wisely. And if you wanted to utilize squats to become a more glute-based activation, then a change in the movement will help. So instead of going all the way down and all the way up, that will make a leg-based growth and awareness and muscle activation movement. Go all the way to halfway and not quite up. All the way down, not quite up. This will take a chance to increase your glute activation, okay? So little things also in exercises change activation muscles which accrue and work. So I hope you enjoyed, and if you like, don't forget to let me know, or comments or anything like that, so I can build more information of what you are looking for online. And let other people know. It's the foundational work that's the most important. Once we have foundations, all of the advanced exercises become less likely to cause injury. And even these exercises, or if we've had injuries, we can, once we have corrected knee injuries, start to do things like squats again because we have correct technique to prevent us from getting injured again, and we build a solider, stronger knee structure as well. I hope you have a great day, and thanks for joining me, and I hope that something magical happens today. Namaste.